to the bread kitchen. I've got a real treat for you today because I'm going to show you how to make these lovely, delicious Nutella cinnamon rolls. So let's start with the dough. I've got 375 grams of strong white bread flour. Here there's a mixture of 125 grams of milk and 50 grams of water. This is lukewarm. 50 grams of sugar, 30 grams of melted butter, an egg, 1.5 teaspoons of dried yeast and a teaspoon of salt. Put the sugar and the yeast into the milk water mix. Mix well to dissolve the sugar. Then leave for 10 minutes while the yeast rehydrates and gets going. Put the flour and the salt in a bowl and mix well. Make a well in the centre. Add in the yeast milk mix, the melted butter and the egg. Then get your hands in there and mix it really well. What you should end up with is a nice dough that is a little bit sticky, and how sticky it is really depends on how big your egg is. Pop your dough onto a floured surface. It's nice and soft, this dough, and knead it for about 10 minutes until it's lovely and smooth and elastic. So after about 10 minutes of kneading, you should end up with a nice, soft, springy dough. Pop the dough in a lightly greased bowl, cover and leave in a warm place for the dough to about double in size. This dough has taken about an hour and a half to rise, really nice. I'll just turn it out onto a lightly floured surface. Knock the dough back. So I'm knocking this back into a roughly rectangular shape. Just sprinkle a little bit of flour on it and then roll it out nice and smooth to about 12 inches square. So this is about 12 inches square, just using a ruler to square it up. Square up the ends by just sort of stretching the dough a bit. Now that I've got a nice square, I can spread on some Nutella and go right up to the edges on the sides here. So I've gone right up to the edges on the sides and I've left about a centimetre gap at the bottom and a couple of centimetres gap at the top. Now I'm going to sprinkle on the cinnamon filling, and this is just 60 grams of brown sugar mixed with 3 teaspoons of ground cinnamon. It smells amazing. Don't sprinkle any of the sugar cinnamon mix on the borders. Now I'm going to add on a few sultanas. I like sultanas in my cinnamon rolls. Not everybody else does, so I'll just put some in. So I've sprinkled on about 75 grams of sultanas. You don't have to if you don't want to. It's up to you. Now, I'm going to roll this up. Use my ruler to help me get started. So here's my roll. I'm just going to trim the ends and square them off. Now I'll cut this into 12 pieces. So I've now got 12 1-inch pieces of dough. I've transferred the rolls to a lightly greased, deep-sided baking pan. I'm just going to pop them in a nice large plastic bag, or you could just cover them with plastic, and then leave them to prove for about an hour. These have proved nicely and are ready for baking, so I'll put them in the oven at 165 fan oven, 180 normal oven for 15 to 20 minutes. Now while they're baking, I'll make a simple glaze. Here I've got 50 grams of melted butter, and I'm just going to add in a few drops of lemon essence. That'll do. Then I'll mix in 100 grams of powdered or confectioner's sugar. Mix it really well so you get all the lumps out and there's no unmixed sugar in the bowl. And there we have a nice lemony glazing for these rolls. And here are our lovely baked rolls fresh from the oven. Now while they're still warm, brush some of the glaze on the top. Lovely! Now I'm going to leave these to cool before I get them out of the pan. Breakfast time or coffee time? It's your choice. I find there's only one problem with these rolls, and that is having eaten one roll, resisting the temptation to eat a second. I hope you enjoy making your Nutella cinnamon rolls, and do join me next time in the bread kitchen.